What if Professor X became the Juggernaut? What if the Punisher was a hall monitor? What if Thanos joined the Avengers? That's just a taste of what you might find in the pages of Marvel's What If. What If is a freeing question for a franchise so heavily rooted in ongoing continuity. It opens up all sorts of possibilities that are both fascinating and world-breaking. Marvel Studios' What If animated series is sure to be a breath of fresh air for fans who've come to know the MCU inside and out. If you're waiting for the next episode, or the next season, or heck, if you're just craving some more Marvel multiverses, stick around. We're digging into some What If history and counting down the strangest must-read Marvel What Ifs. Before we start counting down, you might be wondering, where did Marvel What If come from? Where if? No, that's dumb. In 1977, Marvel Comics editor Roy Thomas wanted a place on the newsstand where the writers could put all of their wildest, world-breaking ideas and share them with readers. The initial premise was centered around Uatu. Uatu? Whoatu? I've only seen it written down. The Watcher, who guides the audience through alternate timelines where key character moments went differently, and the ensuing fallout. Across 13 volumes, the narrator has changed and at times gotten pretty meta, but Uatu is the most iconic and the center of the MCU's What If series. Most of the time, and especially the classic issues, are standalone stories. Because of their one-shot style, I actually think that the What If comics would be a great place for new readers to get into Marvel books without being bogged down in decades of continuity. Even for the what ifs that relate to a larger in-universe event, the book's narrators provide a ton of context and reference to the main universe to keep readers in the loop. If you're still new to comics, I definitely recommend hopping into any random issue of What If that appeals to you based on the cover art or the character, whatever it is. Even better, stick around for these recommendations and add them to your reading list. Most of these are easily accessible on the Marvel Unlimited app. So for this list, we're going to try and keep it balanced between what ifs with a genius premise and ones that are completely outlandish. There's actually significant overlap between those two ideas. Number 10. What if Sergeant Fury fought World War II in space? Just look at this cover. This sums up the energy that What If brings to Marvel Comics better than anything else. You got Nick Fury fighting lizard fascists in space with lasers. I really want to get this blown up and put on my wall. In this alternate reality, instead of the eastern and western fronts, the war is fought on the alpha and beta sectors of our solar system, each on opposite ends of the sun. In a sense, this book is definitely just a cash grab at the space opera craze of the late 70s and early 80s, but it's still a fun read if you're into the Howling Commandos with a cosmic Marvel flavoring. I actually like this better than most Marvel war books. Those ones aren't really for me, so I appreciate this. Number 9. What if Thanos joined the Avengers? Here's another one that isn't necessarily a good story, just a really bonkers idea. This story opens with the universe in dire shape, on the verge of destruction at the hands of the Builders, who've captured Thanos' son and indoctrinated him to their cause of evolution through destruction. Thanos is totally against this philosophy because he worships death, so he strikes a deal with the Avengers to stop the Builders and save his son. But of course, Thanos is a mad titan with his own ulterior motives. Without any spoilers, because there's not much else to the story, the villain takes Captain America's place as leader of the Avengers. Thanos wielding Cap's shield is a strange sight to behold. Like I said, it's not the best written, but it has some compelling imagery because of the concept. I'd actually like to see this story revisited with a little more depth, and so that's why I've included it here. Number 8. What if Wolverine was the Lord of the Vampires? Turns out that if you kill the Lord of the Vampires, you have to take his place. When Wolverine and King Vamp faced off, you can imagine that Weapon X did what he does best. Vampire Wolverine is a wild idea, and to top it all off, he's confronted by the Punisher, who, by the way, is possessed by the spirit of Doctor Strange. It's worth a read just to see the Punisher sport the Cloak of Levitation. The story is fun, but totally all over the place, so thank the Watchers that it isn't canon. Number 7. What if no one was watching the Watcher? What does the Watcher do when he's not narrating alternate Marvel universes? This one's pretty fun, as it's a collection of a bunch of silly what if vignettes, including what if Doctor Doom was a pediatrician? What if Wolverine hibernated? What if the leader wanted to buy a hat? And of course, the classic 1-2 punch, what if you were Spider-Man? Well, you'd be dead. This is pretty much just a series of quick setups and punchlines, and some of them are definitely stronger than others, but it's an easy read, it's a fun read. Check it out. Number 6. What if the alien costume had possessed Spider-Man? This what if is based around the first appearance of the symbiote suit in Secret Wars issue 8. In the main Marvel universe, Spider-Man's symbiote was removed by Reed Richards and eventually went on to possess Eddie Brock. But what if it stuck with Spider-Man instead? Well, the symbiote basically ends up sucking the life out of Peter Parker until he's a rotted old husk. Damn, that got dark. And that's pretty common for the what if endings. Number 5. What if the Hulk had Bruce Banner's brain? This one is all over the place, but also really great. So in the years since this issue was released, the Hulk has gone through a bunch of different personas and even merged with Banner. But it's really interesting to see this merge take place relatively early in the Hulk's history. A ton of his character is based on his early trauma as a result of losing control to a monster when he first got his powers. What if that weren't the case? As a result, he never joins the Avengers and instead works alongside Reed Richards and Professor X on an improved version of Cerebro. The Machine ends up fusing these three men together to fight Galactus, so they have a whole new power set and they're all one being together. But as soon as they do this, the Machine blows up. After their fight with Galactus, Richards, Banner, and Professor X are separated, but they've now completely lost their powers. They're just regular guys. However, the explosion of their improved version of Cerebro also turns Ben Grimm into a stronger, more mindless version of the Thing. This issue packed a ton of twists into a single story, so it's a lot of fun. Number 4, what if the Invisible Girl had died? In the main Marvel universe, Sue Storm was dangerously close to death when in labor with her and Reed Richards' kid. In this alternate universe, new life was born at the cost of her own. This issue of What If is high in melodrama, as Reed Richards goes after the one who is ultimately responsible for Sue's death, Annihilus. In the end, Reed takes hold of Annihilus and flies them both into the sun. That is metal. This deserves a spot on the list for the badass visual alone. It's a really great read to see what Reed Richards is actually capable of when he's been hurt like this. Number 3, what if the Phoenix had not died? Those familiar with X-Men comics know the Phoenix saga well, when the cosmic Phoenix Force possessed Jean Grey and tragically resulted in her death. Though her death wasn't permanent in the long run of the Marvel Universe, the events that took place during and after proved to be key in protecting the fate of the world. Had the Phoenix not died, her powers would have continued to grow to the point where she's able to effortlessly destroy an entire sun. By the end, she's responsible for the death of the X-Men and the destruction of Earth. For every gain, there is a loss, as Uatu likes to say. Number 2, what if Spider-Man's Uncle Ben hadn't died? A lot of Marvel deaths done and undone in this top 5, which makes sense as these are character-defining events that are hard to go back from. Uncle Ben's death is one of the cardinal laws of Marvel Comics, as it's such a massive moment for Spider-Man, and as a result, the Marvel Universe as a whole. In this alternate universe, Aunt May is the one killed instead of Uncle Ben. Ben quickly figures out that Peter is Spider-Man and coaches him through his superheroics. It's a lovely idea, but it doesn't last, as Peter starts to resent Uncle Ben's involvement in his life. This one isn't necessarily a better or worse alternative universe, it's just really compelling to see the butterfly effect of a small difference in the lives of these characters. I also just love to see the character dynamic between Peter and Uncle Ben. If you like Spider-Man, you'll probably really enjoy this story. Alright, before I get to number 1, shout out to the Marvel what ifs that actually ended up happening. Like, what if Spider-Man had joined the Fantastic Four? What if the Invaders had stayed together after World War II? What if Spider-Man's clone had lived? Remember Clone Saga? Oh boy. What if Jane Foster had found the hammer of Thor? That one's actually a really good story. Also, some honorable mentions that just nearly made the cut include, what if the Avengers defeated everyone? What if Spider-Man kept mutating? I really love this cover art, that's why I'm trying to include it on this list. What if the Marvel Bullpen were the Fantastic Four? What if Wolverine defeated the Hulk? What if Captain America was president? And what if someone else were Spider-Man? Honestly, I could go on and on with this list. You can't go wrong with what if books in my opinion. There's so many great little stories to choose from, and there's a great what if out there for fans of any character or comic style. But the number 1 Marvel what if must read is, what if Captain America were revived today? Well, today being 1980s, because that's when the issue was released. This one packs a serious political punch as Steve Rogers is revived during Reagan's America to see that a hateful conservative has taken the mantle of Captain America during Rogers' absence. In the face of this America, Steve gives a rousing speech about the injustices of the US that still ring true today. This issue of What If has aged like fine wine, and it's a must-read for anyone who respects Steve Rogers and what he stands for. It's also just further proof that comics have always been political. There you have it. It's impossible to fit every what if alternate universe into a single list, so what did we miss? What's your favorite what if story? Is there a specific one that you want to see adapted into the MCU's animated series? What if you found this video entertaining and hit the like button? And let us know your thoughts down below.